The following program was provided by an independent producer solely responsible for its content. The opinions expressed do not necessarily represent the views of this station, its staff, board of directors, or underwriters.
Hello, and help me welcome Juliana Bergeron, our GOP committee woman, I guess it is.
Yes, National Committee Woman.
National Committee Woman. So tell our audience a little bit about your responsibility as a National Committee Woman, besides going to meetings all the time.
Okay, well, my first responsibility, and the most important one, according to the bylaws of New Hampshire GOP, is to help preserve our first-in-the-nation primary. And, that comes up for discussion every cycle at the RNC, and you've probably heard that, California is going to go early this year with their primary, and there has been talk that that would mean New Hampshire didn't even need to have a primary if they were going early, because there's so many electoral votes in California. Right. It might block us out, but I don't think that's going to happen. We've been very careful with our team at the RNC, which includes me and Steve Dupree and the chair, to anytime. Last cycle it was Texas. Anytime somebody tries to usurp our place, we meet with them and talk to them, and we also meet with the other states immediately. We meet with Iowa because they have the first in the nation caucus, and team up and do our best to have it never come to a vote.
Yeah, well, I think it's really economical too. People can get out the first time around a lot easier in New Hampshire than they can see in California or Texas.
Absolutely, they can do the whole state. They can come to, Concord, Manchester, and Nashua and do these shows and do the radio shows and drive the whole state and be here for a day or two and really reach out to almost everybody in the state for very little money, if any money at all.
That's right.
And in the major markets, there were, my friends on the RNC in New York say that if they want to see a candidate there, they have to pay $2,000 oftentimes, and then they're just sitting in a room. They don't get to ask a question or speak to the person when, most of these candidates have come to our living rooms. And so I think it's pretty important for our process. I think we need to continue it. I think the 4 early states are very, very important because most of these people would never be heard of. And we would have little voice. Like, we would have no voice if we lost the Electoral College.
Right.
There was a reason our forefathers set things up this way. So that's my first duty. On the RNC, I represent New Hampshire, and like I said, there's a committee man, committee woman, and the chair. And at the RNC, what I've found is that you either are on a long-standing committee. Steve Dupree is on rules, and we always joke, I'd love to be on rules. I fill in when he can't make it. I would love to someday be on rules, but he has seniority and he's very good at it. So I respect that, and I've been learning from Steve these past couple of years, so that's a good thing. But what I've chosen to do is to run for individual or be appointed to individual and different committees. I was on the debate committee last time, where the Republican Party for the first time took control of our own debates, and didn't give debates to NBC, for example, and eliminated the numbers and had some input as to who was going to moderate the debates. It wasn't perfect, but it was an improvement, and I think it was particularly helpful as I watched the Democratic debates the other day, which were kind of a hodgepodge, weren't they? So I've been on that committee. I've been on a number of committees, but my most recent ones have been the site selection committee. We traveled the country and took in proposals from cities that wanted to hold the next convention for us, and we chose Charlotte. I think people are going to like it. Nice. I can think that when we were in Tampa, many people didn't have housing close enough. It was housing almost 2 hours away. They had to come in every day, 2-hour drive to get to a meeting. In Charlotte, they took us to the hotel that's the furthest out, and it took us, during rush hour, 20 minutes to get back into the city to the place where we're going to hold the convention. So we picked Charlotte. Now I'm serving on the Committee on Arrangements, and the Committee on Arrangements is a member from each state, and we're broken up into 2 groups, and I'm on the Technology and Experience committee on arrangements, which means my job is to help plan for what people, in particularly my state, would want to see or do when they come to the convention, to make sure that they're going to have a good experience, that they're going to be able to have seats in the hall. There's going to be activities for them because there's a lot of sitting time and downtime. There will be speakers, all sorts of events, meals,
schedule
whatever.
from morning to night.
Yes, that will work out with other states because, again, New Hampshire is a small state, and we sometimes do better when we joined with Pennsylvania at one point, and we joined with Rhode Island and Mass before to do events at the convention. So those are the two committees I'm working on right now.
So what's your next meeting with them?
My next meeting is at the end of the month. I go to Charlotte. We always do the summer meeting the year before the convention in the place we've chosen, so we can get even more used to the place. So I've now been there several times, and this time the whole RNC will be there with us because it was just the few of us on the committee before, and we'll get everybody used to the city and show them around, show them the spaces we're going to use, and I will be there 2 or 3 days early, working with the committee on arrangements. Yes. Yeah.
So what day is the convention going to be?
The exact date. It's next September. The dates were chosen by President Trump. That was his choice. They're in early September of next year.
Okay.
Yeah. So it'll probably be warm there, but the travel will be good. And there's Charlotte has become perhaps the fastest growing city in America.
That's what I thought.
And the amazing thing about it is that they did the convention a while back for the Democrats. You probably remember their mayor worked. She was on a Democratic committee that helped put on that convention, and we asked her when we started, "Is there any point in us going any further with you?" And she's a very a good mayor, a nice woman, and very fair. And she said that as the mayor of Charlotte, my job is to bring business to Charlotte, and Republicans are good business people, and I want to bring you to Charlotte. And she really helped us. She was very convincing. So I'm excited about that.
Yeah, it is a growing area, that's for sure.
Yeah.
It's a nice area, too.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
So how does that, how do you influence what happens back here? I mean, you bring back, I guess, some kind of information sometimes.
I bring back information. One of the ways we influence is with money. As you know, the RNC has raised way more money. The Democrats are in debt, and they have a problem raising money at the DNC. Okay, maybe all these candidates and the confusion they seem to like doesn't help. But if I want to go take a little bit of a side here, we raise more money at the RNC, but they raise more money at every other level. Individuals give more money. Individuals. It would be great if we could get our people to donate $5 a month, even. If all of the Republicans who had very little money but want a Republican to get elected donated $5 a month, that would help us because a lot of this is money driven.
Well, do you come back with any ideas of how they could do something like that and stir up the neighborhood, I guess you might say, to get them all to give $5, $10,
Well, we do
$20?
come back with that. The grassroots givers is one of the things that we've done, and Act Blue, the Democrats' big pact, and now the RNC can't be involved in that. It has to be a third party, but a third party has just come out with Win Red, which is I think Act Blue really helped get people. There were a lot of people donating online, $5 a shot, or they saw something good in a debate and they put a little money. They made it very easy for them, and we're trying to make it easier for people. But the other thing that happens is you remember how close Eddie Edwards was in that last poll. He was with 1%, and I spoke to the people at the RNC because his opponent had come out with all these ads, television ads, and his campaign was pretty much out of money. And I spoke with Ronald Romney McDaniels at the RNC and with her staff, and we brought about 60,000 into the state at the end of that week, like Thursday night before the election. And unfortunately, I'm sad to say it didn't push him over the line, but it's good to have some place where you can go when somebody's close and a little extra might help. And sometimes it works.
Well, I know Steve Negron was in the same boat too. He
Yes.
didn't have any money at the end, and that was
Yeah.
unfortunate. I mean, he came up with 40-some% of the vote, which was very good. Now he has internal competition, I guess, which you, of course, are neutral in. And
I have to be neutral, yes.
But one of the things that we've talked about, and I can remember at least a couple elections back when this started, of organizing our voters into smaller groups.
Yes.
We never complete that.
We're doing better at it, though.
Okay.
We're doing better. And it's, again, like I said before, what I told you prior to the show was what I like about being a Republican is we don't have to always agree. We can think outside of the box. We don't have to, it's not lockstep for us, but that's also the difficult part of it. And you probably remember that Obama, he had people in their job, in each neighborhood, their job was to find 12 people. They were responsible for getting those 12 people to vote. Each of those people were responsible for getting 12 people to vote. And they really did a great job of getting out the vote. But we've been working on that and getting more people on the ground to do that. And you probably know that New Hampshire right now has 5 people here. Yeah. Mm-hmm. We're the first state to get people with our first in the nation primary, the first state that RNC has sent people. So we have 5 people, and they're building the ranks of volunteers. We have spent literally millions of dollars on the app we have on our phone now. Right. So we know more. It's funny. We know more about what's going on in somebody's household than they do sometimes. We know what their hobbies are, and that they voted in however many of the last elections. If they took a Republican primary ballot in New Hampshire, we know. Now, obviously, we don't know who they voted for, but so we're working on a lot of people in the midterms don't show up to vote. I guess they forget, or they just don't think it's important. But this next election for us is hugely important, right, particularly nationwide. But here in New Hampshire,
it's very important here too.
Yeah,
I mean, the governor is just holding on to the control staff with a veto.
Right. Yes, and that's But he's doing a great job, though, don't you think?
Oh yes, definitely. Yeah. I think
it's hard to be in the minority.
And he has to, he got a lot of it done in their first, analysis, where they cut out some of the more outrageous things that they wanted to do. Right. But there's still a lot in there.
Right. Well, they seem to forget that, one-time money shouldn't be put into a budget because it's going to be gone, and then where are we going to get it the next time? We're going to get it by raising taxes.
That's right. And I don't know if the people realize that. And that's why I get back to the contact of the people out there, and also the people that haven't registered. We got to make sure we get new people registered. My analysis in Nashua is that the Democrats did a very good job in getting their people out and getting people registered, and it was done quietly, so that we really didn't realize it.
New Hampshire's unique because I think we're the only state where, for example, the committeeman in Nevada told me that he's qualified to register people himself. Yeah. He's licensed to do that by his community. And in New Hampshire, we can't do that. And occasionally, I know I live right across the street from Keene State, and occasionally they're having a registration day over there, but it has to be the city clerk that comes down, and the Democrats invite the city clerk to come down. The Democrats can't do it, and we can't do it. I think we have to participate in more of those events in colleges, but it's amazingly different. I mean, I was in Denver and at the zoo, and somebody came up to me and said, "I'd like to register you to vote." And
looking at Nashua. This was my second term back in 2010. We went out and really did a good job in talking to people, but it was only about a dozen people that really did that, 1 or 2 people in each ward.
Right.
We have 9 wards. It worked. I mean, we went from 3 representatives to 23, and they had 6 left of theirs.
Yeah.
And then they just wiped us out this last time. They got rid of everybody.
Well, it always works. I had It always works when we get out and meet the people,
Right.
when we go door to door. I had a candidate in my community who said to me that he had knocked on 300 doors. He was so proud of himself and that he thought he really had a good chance. And as soon as he said 300 doors, I
There should be another
that's
zero
not,
on
there
there.
should be another 3,000 doors. Yes, you know, but it's much harder work. And one of the people considering running for one of the federal offices in the state recently told me that he had no idea how much hard work it was, and he has not even announced yet. So it's
really
it's
hard.
difficult. It's time consuming, and it takes people out there meeting people. You know, we know people don't answer their phones anymore. I get very frustrated that we do all these calls because I don't answer mine, and you probably don't answer yours. Okay, I prefer it to be on my cell phone. If they want to text me, I can answer it whenever I want, or send me a poll. I can answer it if I feel like it, and more likely to do it that way. And I think that the Republican Party is getting better at knowing this is the way to reach people.
I think they have a good training policy, but I don't see the follow-up to see whether the people know how to implement it, because it's not something that most people pick up and develop. You got to really go and help them through. Once they've done it a few times, they can do it. They can polish it off themselves, but it's getting them started right is what I found out. And
it makes me think back to the program that the Romney campaign had, where people were inputting and whatever, and both my son and I were at different polls doing this, and as we found out later, the program didn't work. We thought we were sending them our information, but it wasn't being received. And so if it's not received, then there's nobody there calling the people who didn't show up for the polls.
Right.
And I think we learned a lot from that. That was never beta tested. And the RNC has learned a lot from that. I mean, we really have an amazing technology department.
Good.
Department now. Lots of young people from major players.
Well, that's the other part, too. I don't know if we're putting enough emphasis on the younger people. I've been trying to get people here, even on the interview, from the young Republicans and seeing how they're doing, at least in our town, and I don't hear about anything. And we ought to work with the high school people, too. We do have a Republican committee in both high schools in town.
Yeah, no, I hear you. I think it's difficult. I think Keene State has a small contingent that, it helps them when we get them connected with the college Republicans throughout New Hampshire. And with the young Republican groups, we've been trying to do events that are keyed for them, more fun events without sitting listening to old people like us talking to them, right? So sometimes
get
I
them
think
interested that they can really be an influence. They can really get some things done. The enthusiasm is really contagious with them.
Yeah, and I think it's easier if we do it in small groups and not necessarily at Republican events. I speak a couple times a year or more at the college in Keene, and usually in activism classes. And I start out by telling them, I'm here to show you that, I'm a Republican, I don't have horns. I care about the environment, I care about the arts. The arts, they think we don't care about the environment, that we don't know that there's, just this one earth that we have and we need to take care of it. And they think we don't care about the arts, and they need to meet us and know that pretty much we can all care about the same things. It's just we're for smaller government and
more choice,
more freedoms, and lower taxes, and and more freedoms. That should buy them in right there.
Right. Yeah, it's a restriction. Well, once they become having to earn money to support themselves, I think they learn fairly quickly in some of those areas.
Yeah, my son's first job after college was working for Charlie Bass in
really?
Washington, and he got his first paycheck. He immediately called me and said, "Do you know how much they take out of my check?" I'm like, "I absolutely do."
You ought to see my check.
Yeah, it's only going to get worse. But yeah, that's true. And obviously we need government. We need infrastructure. We need defense. We need to help the people who can't help themselves. And there's always going to be people like that. And I heard somebody say one day, well, Republicans only care about themselves. They don't care about helping these people. And I don't think that's true. I think we're very generous with our time as a group, with our time and with our dollars. to to help.
Well, sure, yeah, people don't understand cost effectiveness,
Right.
and that's one of the
Right.
things that I think is really something we focus on. In contrast with some other people who just like to throw money at it,
Right,
and
right.
that's a waste.
Right.
And
Did you hear about this, the Puerto Rico situation? And I had heard about it firsthand from they have members at the RNC. I mean, they're a U.S. territory, not a state, so they don't vote, but they have members here. And obviously everybody was very angry, thinking that not enough money came. And then this week, I guess some people were indicted for misdirecting the money that did come. And that's what they're saying. You have to have. I think Republicans want people to be accountable for where the money ends up. Somebody's going to direct it.
Well, I think we have a little bit of that problem in the state too. And I think Governor Sununu is paying some attention to it, but it's a lot worse than people understand unless you're really involved with some of the things that go on up there in Concord.
Yeah, no, I'm afraid that I think it's human nature.
Well,
money goes for a cause, and there are people.
Sometimes it's just plain ineptitude.
Right.
I mean, I don't know if
Right.
you remember that $20 million grant that they got from that just sat in a corner someplace for
That's
so
right.
many months.
Well, yes,
last
I do
year.
remember we had a Democratic governor at the time, and she
Right.
didn't even think about it.
Right.
Which is why she shouldn't be our senator.
That's true too. We don't get a chance
One
of her
reason.
though until 2 more
No,
years.
but- Yes.
That ought to be interesting.
But I'm hoping that this time we can, pick up at least one, if not two,
Yes.
federal seats. I mean, I have no problem with there being Democrats in the world. I mean, I think that we all have family members and friends and whatever, and we agree to disagree on certain things. But I think our government functions better when there's, some sort of balance of opinions, there, and that when they have to come together and make a compromise, I think that we all benefit from that, because lots of times when it's one side in power or the other side, you don't see as much getting done. And there's so many things that need to get done in our country.
Oh, definitely. And let's hope that it works out a little bit better as he sorts through the vetoes here in New Hampshire. I don't know how that's going to work out, but I don't think, just looking at the vote, I think there's enough people there that we're not going to lose on any of the vetoes.
I don't think we are either. I was particularly unhappy to see that Gordon MacDonald
Oh, yes, that
that was purely political, because if ever a man deserved
Yeah, with all the people that were pushing
that
for
position.
him, I mean,
Right.
both sides.
Right, just such an honorable, bright, hardworking man.
Right.
That
Well, I hope there's another opportunity to get him.
Yeah,
that
I hope
way,
so too. Yeah,
Or that even the president takes advantage of him too, because I think that he would make a good
wouldn't
judge
it?
wherever he
Yeah,
goes.
that would
from-
be-
just from what I know of him, and that's not much.
I agree, and I don't think he's a man that would ever make a ruling based on a political opinion.
Right,
I
yeah.
think he's completely honorable
Yeah,
and fair. So yes,
that's what we need in the federal government. That's for sure. After
No,
all this last couple of years there, it's a shame that they've really contaminated the FBI the way they have done it.
no, I know.
And
No,
they still haven't cleaned the IRS up either.
Well, and somebody said yesterday that they think that the Democratic Party right now is being run by the press,
Yeah.
or
Well,
or certainly with a lot of help from the press. I mean, I think like many of us, I'm probably addicted to news, but I don't think they need to tell me what to think. I think they should report the news,
That's right.
and I think that the part of that's the problem is 24-hour news cycle gives them plenty of time to decide what they believe and try to force feed it to
And
to
the way
us.
they coordinate some of these reports too, it's nobody has a contrary. They all focus the
no.
same
Right.
words almost.
That's right. But that's one of the things that I've always found, was difference between the two parties. When Obama was running for president, the message he gave was the same message I heard from the Democrats in my town. They are. It's again. I don't want to use the word lockstep too many times, but they pass the message down, and I think our party is trying to at least share the message, the overall message, and so that everybody's on the same page. It doesn't come out with the Republicans word for word every time, but almost in the Democratic Party, whether you were running for the State House in New Hampshire or running for Congress or running for president, some of the same words were used.
Oh, yeah.
The speaking points were.
I know I've seen analysis of how they voted up in Concord, and you talk about lockstep.
Right, right, right.
They have a chain to them. I mean, you don't get to vote, or if, you know.
Yeah, no, you'll pay for it later, right?
Yeah.
No, it's sort of, I guess, at other organizations, a lot of the unions put out.
Oh, yeah.
Talking points, and you can hear them. I can read them in the letters to the editor, and I just. Perhaps it's a better way or a smarter way, but that we haven't caught on to yet. And I sort of cherish that our people get to be of their own minds.
In our my panel discussion yesterday, we talked about education. I don't know, we don't have time to really get into that, but it seems like they're really pushing a new way of influencing our children right from the beginning.
Yeah, and there's an argument going on in my town on that right now. They'll no longer be, you won't know where you rate in the class or whatever, and I'm not sure that that's going to help these kids get into the college they want to. And if there are kids that are brighter and working harder, and being ranked is going to help them in, getting their grades.
And what I see is a loss of focus on learning, and it's more emotional, is what they've been calling it now.
Right.
They're worried about and they're saying that they don't have control of the kids, or the kids have a lot of problems that they don't know how to handle. Well, it's been happening for quite a while, and you've been denying it. Now you got some kind of other thing that they want to. And to me, that needs a heck of a lot more analysis than we're getting.
I think so too. And I think it probably comes back to the family structure, or the breakdown of the family structure in our country and perhaps in the world. But I don't really think it matters what the makeup of your family is. I think children need to feel secure in a family, and parents need to be helping them and helping them understand the importance of learning things and what's right and what's wrong. And I'm not sure that this always
a little bit more discipline. They were so afraid of using discipline.
Right.
And, you don't have to take the whip out. You just have to be able to talk to them.
No, there's consequences to your actions.
That's right.
I
Juliana, we've run out of time.
Okay.
I'm going to get you back another time, maybe as we get more active as we come along, and you can tell us what's happening.
I'd be happy to.
Okay. Well,
good.
Thank you very much.
Nice to see you.
The preceding program was provided by an independent producer solely responsible for its content. The opinions expressed do not necessarily represent the views of this station, its staff, board of directors, or underwriters.